What if the greatest albums ever made were created by two men who absolutely despised each other? While Pink Floyd gave us Dark Side of the Moon, Wish You Were Here, and The Wall, behind the scenes, Roger Waters and David Gilmour were locked in a creative war so intense it would last for over 40 years. This isn't just another band breakup story. This is about two brilliant minds who needed each other to create genius, but couldn't stand being in the same room together. This is about ego, control, and the price of perfection. If you want to know the real story behind rock's most legendary feud, smash that like button right now and subscribe, because what you're about to discover will blow your mind and change how you hear every Pink Floyd song forever. Let's start at the beginning. In the late 60s, Pink Floyd is led by Syd Barrett, the charismatic genius who writes their early psychedelic hits. But Syd's mental health deteriorates, probably worsened by excessive drug use, and by 1968 he's forced out of the band. Enter David Gilmour, Syd's childhood friend, brought in to replace him. At this point, Roger Waters is the bassist and one of several songwriters. Nobody knows it yet, but the power struggle that will define Pink Floyd for decades has just begun. Through the early 70s, Pink Floyd operates as a democracy. All four members, Waters, Gilmour, Richard Wright on keyboards, and Nick Mason on drums, contribute ideas. They create experimental albums like Metal and Obscured by Clouds. But everything changes in 1973 with Dark Side of the Moon. This album doesn't just succeed, it becomes one of the best-selling albums of all time. It stays on the Billboard charts for over 900 weeks. It makes Pink Floyd not just successful, but legendary. And here's where the cracks begin to show. Roger Waters writes most of the lyrics and concepts for Dark Side of the Moon. He has the big ideas about time, death, madness, money, all the existential themes that make the album profound. But David Gilmour creates the sonic landscapes. His guitar work on time, money, and us and them is what gives those songs their emotional power. Both men are essential to the album's success, but both men also start to believe they're the most essential. Waters thinks he's the creative visionary. Gilmour thinks he's the musical genius. They're both right, and that's the problem. The next few years bring more masterpieces and more tension. Wish You Were Here in 1975 is a tribute to Syd Barrett and a meditation on absence and the music industry. Again, Waters writes the concepts, Gilmour creates the soundscapes. The dynamic is working, but barely. Animals in 1977 is darker, more political, more cynical. Waters is taking more control, his lyrics becoming angrier and more pointed. Gilmour is still contributing musically, but feeling increasingly sidelined in the creative process. The resentment is building. Then comes The Wall in 1979, and this is where everything explodes. The Wall is Roger Waters' baby. It's his concept, his story, his obsession. It's a rock opera about a rock star named Pink, who builds a metaphorical wall between himself and the world. It's autobiographical, therapeutic, and intensely personal to Waters. He dominates every aspect of the production. He decides which songs make the album. He directs the band. He fires Richard Wright, the keyboard player, right in the middle of recording because Wright questions his authority. This is no longer a democracy. This is a dictatorship. David Gilmour hates the process. He feels like a session musician on what's supposed to be a Pink Floyd album. He fights with Waters constantly. They argue about arrangements, about guitar parts, about which songs should be on the album. Waters wants Comfortably Numb cut from the record, Comfortably Numb, one of the greatest rock songs ever written. Gilmour fights tooth and nail to keep it, adding that soaring guitar solo that becomes iconic. The song stays, but the damage is done. Gilmour knows that Waters sees him as an employee, not a partner. The Wall becomes a massive success, but it also marks the beginning of the end. The next album, The Final Cut in 1983, is even worse. Waters has complete control. It's essentially a Roger Waters solo album with Pink Floyd's name on it. It's about war, loss, and Waters' father who died in World War II. Gilmour is barely involved. He contributes some guitar parts but doesn't write anything. He later calls it one of the most miserable experiences of his life. The album comes out, does moderately well, but everyone knows Pink Floyd is finished. Waters announces he's leaving the band in 1985. He assumes this means Pink Floyd is over. He's wrong. David Gilmour and Nick Mason decide to continue Pink Floyd without Waters. And this is where the real war begins. Waters is furious. He believes he is Pink Floyd. He believes without him, the band is just a tribute act using a name they have no right to. He sues Gilmour and Mason for the rights to the Pink Floyd name. The legal battle is brutal, expensive, and public. Waters loses. The court rules that Pink Floyd is a collective entity, not Roger Waters' property. Gilmour can use the name, the logo, the legacy. Waters is humiliated. In 1987, Gilmour releases A Momentary Lapse of Reason as Pink Floyd. Waters calls it a pale imitation, a cash grab. But the album is successful. It sells millions. The tour is one of the biggest of the decade. Gilmour proves that Pink Floyd can exist without Waters, and he rubs it in. The stage show is spectacular, more elaborate than anything Waters could afford to do solo. The message is clear. You thought you were irreplaceable. You're not. Waters spends the next few years bitter and angry. His solo albums don't sell as well as Pink Floyd. His tours are smaller. He watches Gilmour succeed with the brand they built together, and it eats him alive. In interviews, he calls Gilmour a guitarist for hire with no vision. Gilmour fires back, saying Waters is a control freak who drove everyone away. The insults are personal and vicious. These aren't just professional disagreements. These are two men who genuinely despise each other. The feud continues through the 90s. Pink Floyd releases The Division Bell in 1994, another huge success without Waters. Waters releases Amused to Death, a brilliant album that's critically acclaimed but commercially overshadowed by Pink Floyd. The comparisons are constant and painful. Music journalists ask Waters why he can't replicate Pink Floyd's success. They ask Gilmour why the new albums lack the emotional depth of the Waters era. Both men are trapped in the shadow of what they created together. Then, in 2005, something unexpected happens. Bob Geldof convinces them to reunite for Live 8, a charity concert in London. It's the first time Waters, Gilmour, Mason, and even Wright have played together in over 20 years. The performance is legendary. They play Breathe, Money, Wish You Were Here, Comfortably Numb. For 23 minutes, Pink Floyd exists again, and it's magic. Fans around the world hope this means a full reunion. It doesn't. After the show, Waters and Gilmour barely speak. The reunion proves they can still make incredible music together, but it also proves they still can't stand each other. Richard Wright dies in 2008, and for a moment it seems like maybe this shared loss will bring Waters and Gilmour together. It doesn't. They attend the funeral separately. They give separate interviews about Wright's legacy. They can't even grieve together. The wall between them, ironically, is permanent. The feud continues into the 2000s and 2000s. Waters becomes increasingly political, outspoken about Palestine, war, and government corruption. Gilmour's wife, Polly Sampson, calls Waters anti-Semitic and a liar on social media. Gilmour supports her comments. Waters threatens legal action. It's embarrassing. It's sad. These are men in their 70s and 80s still fighting battles from their 40s. They created some of the most beautiful, profound music in rock history, but they can't let go of their anger. So what's the lesson here? Pink Floyd proves that you don't need to like each other to create greatness. The tension between Waters and Gilmour, the push and pull between Waters' concepts and Gilmour's musicality, that friction is what made Pink Floyd special. Dark Side of the Moon, The Wall, Wish You Were Here. These albums are perfect because they contain opposing forces in balance. Waters' darkness and Gilmour's light. Waters' lyrics and Gilmour's solos. They needed each other, but needing someone and liking someone are very different things. But here's the tragedy. That same friction that created genius also destroyed them. They couldn't find a way to respect each other's contributions. Waters couldn't share control. Gilmour couldn't accept being secondary. Ego won, and we lost decades of potential music because two brilliant artists refused to compromise. Imagine what Pink Floyd could have created in the 90s or 2000s if Waters and Gilmour had found peace. We'll never know. The music we got is incredible, but the music we lost might have been even better. If this deep dive into rock's most legendary feud opened your eyes, show your support by hitting that like button and subscribing for more untold stories from music history. Drop a comment below and tell me who you think was right in this feud, Waters or Gilmour, or were they both wrong? Share this video with a Pink Floyd fan who needs to hear the real story. Thanks for watching, and remember, sometimes the greatest art comes from the greatest conflict, but that doesn't mean the conflict was worth it.